Let me read to you a passage from the Gospel of St. John, chapter 12, verses 1 to 11. It's the Gospel for Monday of Holy Week. St. John writes, 6 days before Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. They gave a dinner for him there, and Martha served, while Lazarus was one of those reclining at table with him. Mary took a litre of costly perfumed oil, made from genuine aromatic nard, and anointed the feet of Jesus and dried them with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. Then Judas the Iscariot, one of his disciples, and the one who would betray him, said, "Why was this oil not sold for 300 days' wages and given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief, and held the money bag, and used to steal the contributions. So Jesus said, "Leave her alone. Let her keep this for the day of my burial. You always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." The large crowd of the Jews found out that he was there, and came, not only because of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. And the chief priests plotted to kill Lazarus too, because many of the Jews were turning away and believing in Jesus because of him. Well, that's from the 12th chapter of St. John's Gospel, verses 1 to 11. And what does it suggest to us? Well, there are many who have a lot of admiration for Christianity because of its outstanding contribution to the welfare of man. In certain Asian, African and Middle Eastern countries, the presence of Christianity in education, healthcare and various other areas of human development is well out of proportion to the number of Christians who live there. Indeed, there is currently news that Communist Vietnam is keen to have operating within its borders some religious of Mother Teresa's order for the welfare they will bring. All this stands to reason because the service of man in need is a distinguishing feature of the religion of Jesus Christ. Our Lord told his disciples that it was by this that all men would know that they were his disciples, that they loved one another as he loved them. In describing the Last Judgment, our Lord said that he, as judge, would say to all that whatever they did to the least, he would count as having been done to him. In stating this, our Lord was simply bringing to fulfillment a central feature of divine revelation from the beginning. The prophets of the Old Testament constantly inveighed against a religion that stressed sacrifices of bulls and goats to the neglect of the poor and the oppressed. And St. James, in his letter in the New Testament, states that religion, pure and simple, involves coming to the aid of widows and keeping oneself undefiled from the world. So, being the Good Samaritan is part of the essence of living as a Christian. The danger is that Christianity can be reduced to this. It can be reduced to this, including the exclusion virtually of dedication to God. And so we often hear reference to the Christian spirit as being virtually the same as philanthropy. In this way of viewing the matter, a person is a Christian if he is good to others. But of course, a Christian is one who loves and follows the person of Christ. Christ is foremost. Our gospel passage today has much to teach us as to this priority in the Christian faith. We read that they gave a dinner for him there, and Martha served, while Lazarus was one of those reclining at table with him. Mary took a litre of costly perfumed oil, made from genuine aromatic nard, and anointed the feet of Jesus and dried them with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. This oil was a very valuable substance, the equivalent of close to a year's wages. In other words, it was worth many thousands of dollars in today's value. And Mary poured it all out over the feet of Jesus as a sign of love and veneration for his person. It was an act of pure worship and love for him, having no ulterior purpose. Judas showed his true colours on this occasion, not long before he would betray Jesus for the 30 pieces of silver. He said, "Why was this oil not sold for 300 days' wages and given to the poor?" And St. John, the author of the Gospel, comments that he said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief and held the money bag and used to steal the contributions. Our Lord corrected him, probably in quick defence of Mary who did the action, saying that it was a perfectly appropriate manifestation of love, for the poor would always be present, but not he. That is to say, being a disciple of Christ cannot be reduced to doing good things for those in need. Being Christ's disciple means loving Christ and venerating him as the Master and the Lord. It is because of this that one loves and serves others. Perhaps the litre of costly perfumed oil made from genuine aromatic nard belonged to Mary herself, and not just to the family of Mary, Martha and Lazarus. Perhaps it was her own free initiative to pour it all out in an act of love and veneration for Jesus. The Church holds her example up before us to remind us of the centrality of the person of Christ in our Christian life. He is the heart and soul of being a Christian. So let us give our hearts entirely to him, together with the sacrifices that this will entail.